Hello, my friends. Alonso here. Welcome back to another episode of Let's Make Synthwave. Today we have episode number 14, and we will be making music inspired by the awesome song Axel Foley by Harold Faltermeyer from the Beverly Hills Cop movie soundtrack, which is an awesome classic movie from the 80s. Harold Faltermeyer, in case you didn't know, he is an amazing composer that wrote a lot of scores and awesome songs and tracks for movies back in the 80s. Possibly Axel Foley is one of his most renowned tracks, but he's a great session musician, producer, and composer. Awesome. So today we will be making music inspired by Axel Foley. We will not be remaking it blow by blow. We will just use certain elements that we like and use it in our music. Today's episode will have a duration of 2 hours, as we typically do. During the first hour, we were going to create the musical ideas that will serve as the foundation for our track. And then on the second hour, we'll turn that foundation into 60 to 90 seconds of music. Awesome. Let me see what else I wanted to say or mention here. Cool. And if you haven't done so already, visit synthwavedojo.com and sign up for a free account so you can watch all of the Synthwave Dojo videos, better organized, better searchable, and best of all, without any kind of ads. All right, so let's get down to business. Let's see, where am I? Cool. Great. The first thing we're going to do today is just listen and analyze a little bit the Axel Foley track. I just mentioned that we're not going to rebuild or remake it blow by blow, but certainly I want to show you a few things about how it was made so we can understand it, and then pick and choose some of those elements that we can use in our tracks. Because again, when I create original music, or in this case, inspired by someone else, I want to be able to use certain elements, but not necessarily have the music and the track feel like an exact reproduction, because that wouldn't make a lot of sense to me. That wouldn't be fun, because you can't make a better Axel Foley than the Axel Foley track by Harold Faltermeyer. In any case, we're here on the Hook Theory website, and I've left the link to this page in the description of this video. And this is an awesome website where you'll find a lot of music theory information about songs and tracks, etc. So this one by Harold Faltermeyer, Axel Foley, there are a couple of sections that we're going to analyze. So the first one is the chorus. Let me play that for you. That's the theme of the track. Okay, cool. A couple of music theory things. If you see down here, you'll see the chords. We have F minor, D flat major 7, E flat major, and then back to F minor. This is a very, very simple chord progression in a minor key. So this is the first chord in the minor key, F minor in this case. Then we play that chord again. Then we go to the 6 major 7 chord, then to the 7 chord, and back to F minor. So this is a simple 4-bar chord progression where we're playing 3 chords, 3 different chords, F minor. It is establishing the F minor as the tonic, or as the center for the whole harmony and melody. And one important thing that I want to point out is that this is super simple. There's nothing complicated about this chord progression. You can create this chord progression in A minor, E minor, whatever, but what I want to point out is that there's no magic in this chord progression, run-of-the-mill chord progression, okay? It's like in A minor, you would play, let me see, where am I? That sounds terrible. Okay, up there. Let me get back. It's like in A minor, you were to play A minor, F, G, major, back to A minor, then start again. A minor, F major, G major, A minor. A typical run-of-the-mill progression. No mystery, no magic there. Where the magic comes is in the melody. And this melody here, it is very simple, but it takes us on a very rewarding journey in 4 bars, okay? And this melody first presents a theme, then it introduces a little bit of tension here, and the tension is resolved. So this is a melody that feels composed. It's not like this dude, Harold Faltermeyer, he was playing, let's say, here A minor, and he did something like... There's nothing wrong with that, but you can certainly hear and feel that there's composition, there's songwriting and music theory and composition chops put into this. It's a mini journey in 4 bars, and it's very memorable. And as you can see here, visit this page afterward, and this is a grid like you could find in your MIDI editor. You see the notes here. These are like the durations, and it's in every one of these little lines is a 16th note, so you can reverse engineer it note by note. But you can see that the notes are very jumpy, so it's like a very bouncy, lively melody. The notes are very, very short, and you see here that the opening statement, it rises, falls, rises a little bit more, falls, etc. So it's like a mini roller coaster ride inside of 4 bars. So this is really cool because ultimately the chords don't make the track. What makes this track memorable and stand out, at least, is the tune. And this tune is very, very simple. Again, you don't see any weird notes here, mostly notes from the F minor key or scale. But the choices that he made and how he arranged these notes, memorable. 40 years afterward, people hear this, immediately you know that it's the Axel Foley theme, right? There's no escaping that. So I'm just going to play the notes very slowly here. And again, you can go back and figure it out on your own. But it does something like this. You know what? Let me open my synth, the synth that I'm using for this, so you can see the notes. And it's very simple stuff. Here in this F, we do oops. Yeah, I botched it. I'm not a great keyboard player, but fine. And that's the melody repeated over and over again. Let's listen to it one more time. Awesome, so great songwriting and composition chops. Again, nothing complicated, but super memorable and with a lot of intention. So this is one part of the music. But of course, after you've heard this a couple of times, it's like, okay, this is a great hook, but what? Give me something new, okay? The track cannot just be this over and over, right? And that's where a little bit more of the composition and songwriting chops come into place. Then we have this other part, which at least here is called the bridge. Okay, still very simple stuff. We see here 1 chord, 2 chord, the same chord, 3 chords. So this part is really 3 chords. So it's a progression where we play a chord, go to another chord, come back to the first chord, then play the second and a third chord, etc. And here is where, again, very simple stuff, but it can be sneaky and tricky. And this is where music theory comes into play. This first part is in F minor, okay? Now this second part, he modulates, or let's say he changes to F major. That's why the first part sounds like sad like this. Oops, like this. But all of a sudden, when he plays F major, it sounds super bright and happy, because we went from a major, from a minor key to a major key. We modulate it, or whatever you want to call it. So we start with F major, which is let's say the parallel major from this minor, from F minor. But another sneaky thing he did is, not only are we using now F major, right, which gives it a very bright color all of a sudden, but he's keeping some of the chords from F minor. And this is also a well-used strategy in alternative rock, indie rock, in composer stuff, like for soundtracks, etc. And here's where you borrow chords from the parallel key. For example, if you're in a major key, F major, you can borrow chords from the minor. In this case, he borrowed the D flat major and the E flat major from the minor key and played it during his F major section, right? Or if you're in a minor key, you can borrow some of the chords from the parallel. So for example, if he were here in F minor, maybe he could have borrowed some of the chords from F major and played them here, right? So that's another sneaky thing that he did, which immediately gives the music a lot of color, and it feels like we were going from, we were driving and we went from first to fourth, like that, or we were fifth and then we went in reverse. It feels like a total change because of that, and it's very sneaky, but it's very simple. Okay. And this part on the bridge is really just him playing chords, and the top of the chords is what creates this melody. So for example, going back to our synth, it's really hard to see on this synth, but the top of my, let me see, here's the top note. He simply does, watch the notes here. Very, very simple stuff. It's just chords, but it sounds really cool for this part. Then it goes back to the bass line, which is the other thing that I wanted to show. And the bass goes like this. Okay. The first thing that I want to point out is that this bass line, just looking at the notes, is not a continuous stream of eighth notes and sixteenths, like a rolling sixteenths pattern. Obviously, it's not something like this, right? You see that it has a lot of movement, it has a lot of space, it has a lot of bounce to it, and specifically, one technique that he's doing a lot is doing these octave jumps. So for example, let me go to the bass sound that I have. Okay. What he's doing here is playing a note, but then accenting with the octave. For example, like this. Boom, 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 boom. Or like this. Oops. Okay, so the pattern has all of these octave jumps that start and stop and give the music a lot of room to breathe and a lot of groove. Again, so this bass pattern has a lot of thought and intention behind it. Like, he really did want to do something funky that has a lot of groove, something memorable. He just didn't want to play a bass line like this. He could have, but he chose something different. This is a very advanced bass pattern. It's very cool. Now, let me see if there was anything else I wanted to point out. No. So, all right, with all of this in mind and going through these aspects of the Axel Foley track, what do we want to do with this? Okay, what can we reapply and reuse in our track today? So certainly, I want to create my version of this main theme by using a minor key, some very simple chords, and I want to create a melody that feels kind of like this, bouncy with short notes, staccato, and that has a lot of syncopation, right? But that tries to tell a story somehow, not just playing notes like this. Whatever. something that tells a little bit of a story. Now, I don't have all the time in the world today to create something that's super satisfying, so I'm just trying to create something simple that kind of tells a story, but I'm going to use this concept of short notes, staccato, something that introduces a little bit of tension, and that has a little bit of movement, right? There are never any long notes and notes that are boring. It's like it's very bubbly and bouncy. So that's one thing that I want to do. I want to remake this my version of this section. And then for the bridge of our track, I do want to go to the major to a major key, and I'll do some kind of chorded pattern similar to this, but I will probably just use different chords, right? So it's not that similar. That's another thing. And certainly, I want to create a bass line that when you hear it, actually now that we've gone through this, you'll be able to recognize it, because I do want to use this octave jumps technique. I do want to use also this jumpy, bubbly feeling of establishing some kind of groove that moves along with the progression, something that's not static and robotic like a 16th or 8th bar groove. So those are the three elements that I want to do. To recap, I want a bass line that uses the octave jumps and that is funky and that has rhythm. I want to recreate or create my version of the main theme, also with a bouncy melody that tells a bit of a story. And during the bridge, I want to go to the major, to a major key and make the sound brighter just for a little bit. Okay, cool. Let's head back into the DAW and let's start looking at some of these elements and put them together to make some music. All right, my friends, here's where the rubber meets the road. And this is what I have for now. The pattern is exactly the same as the track. At least the kick, the snare, and the hats and the shakers. The clap towards the end, it's very similar, but it's hard to say because it has a lot of delay. All right, so this pattern is very simple. First of all, I researched how Harold Faltermeyer made this track and found out that he used the Lindrum for this. He used the Roland Jupiter synth for the main lead, the Roland JX3P for the chords in the bridge, and for the bass pattern, supposedly it was some Moog or Moog synth. So I'm going to try to use some of those elements that I have here. And first up, the drums. I went with the Lindrum samples from the Synthwave Dojo free sample pack, which you can get at synthwavedojo.com/downloads if you haven't already. So this is the kick, snare, hats, clap, toms, the shaker or cabasa. And just by using the Lindrum samples, immediately it sounds like Axel Foley. The snare is a very simple 2 and 4 backbeat, as is typical in pop, rock, and synthwave. However, the kick just have a little bit of movement to it, and this is very common in, let's say, pop and rock with more of a funk feel, or funk and R&B. The kick drums tend to have a lot of movement in 16th notes, but still very simple. And we have these claps towards the end with some delay, just to give the groove a little bit more of a flavor. Then the hi-hats are 16th notes, 8th notes, and this is a very cool trick. Let me head to my console view. The hats are panned hard left, and they are straight 8th notes. Now, the shaker is playing 16th notes, let me show you here, but that are filling the gaps between the hi-hat hits. So if you put the hi-hats and the shakers together, it's a continuous stream of 16th notes, but one side is playing one thing and the other side is complementing that, like so. That's with the metronome on. And with both together, very nice trick. And the whole thing cool. So just with these very few elements, we're in a great shape to make some music. All right, first, let's identify what chords we're going to use for our main section. Okay, this is a patch that I made on the Arturia Jupiter 8V custom-made patch based on some stuff that I found online, people talking about how you could recreate this patch in various synths on this one, on an earlier version. So again, this is my interpretation of that, and it doesn't matter if it's not exactly like that. To me, it does. It sounds very, very close, and close enough is good enough for me now. So the first thing that I want to figure out is what progression I'm going to use. And today, we're going to use the scale of A minor, just because it's very simple to use, no sharps or flats. Okay, so in A minor, the Axel Foley progression would be A minor, F major, G major, back to A minor. Now, I want to do something different, again, just so it doesn't sound exactly like the original. Definitely, I want to do A minor. Maybe we can do E minor F, or A, F, E minor. It doesn't matter. I think I'll do A minor, E minor, F major, A minor. Just for sake of simplicity, let's do that. Okay, and for now, let me do this. Just so I make sure that I write a bass part that sounds good. You know what? Let me record this real quick. Oh, no, that wasn't it. Okay, that's just so I have a bed to write my bass line on. Okay, and this next step is important. I said I wanted to play the octave jumps just as in the original, so I need to figure out, based on this patch that I also did myself, it's just a simple 2 oscillator square wave thing with a little bit of a pluck to it. What I need to figure out is what is the lowest possible note that I can play where this still sounds good. So this A sounds good to me. And we need to drop down to E. This E still sounds good to me. So I can do octave jumps from E to E, F to F, A to A, and it sounds good. If I had started here, for example, this A, it doesn't sound like a bass to me, and this other A would be just too high. And conversely, this other one here is just too low and undefined, too muddy. Okay, so here, that's where we will start writing our pattern. And I want to do something similar, but not exactly the same. what I'm going to do first is just create the rhythm and then assign pitches to the notes. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Bum, bum. Okay, let's just duplicate this across. Figure it out. Okay, okay. All right. So this is our main rhythm for this bass part. Now let's assign pitches. Here we know we need to change pitch. This is, what was it? E. This is F. Back to A. Okay, here, let's introduce a little bit of movement. Okay, we're getting there. This needs to change to F, or one of the F chord tones. Okay, let me mute this for a second. And maybe here at the end of this thing, something like We start on do. Not bad. Cool. I think that'll do it. Let's listen in context with the chords. Yeah, that'll work. So this is where we're going to have our lead. Okay, so right now, sounds good to me. All right, now comes the tricky part. Let's do this. This could take a while to find something truly memorable. What I'm going to try to do okay, this is the octave where I want my notes to be. I'm just going to mimic the rhythm of the bass first, just so I have something to hold on to. Like that. Okay, and I'm gonna duplicate this. And we'll figure out the ending soon. Okay, this is a great start for sure. Let me get rid of the view of the bass. So I think right out of the gate, we have some very nice rhythms here and some of the interplay and bounciness that I wanted to incorporate into my piece. Okay. Some of these notes, I think I'd like them shorter. A little bit more staccato. Okay, now let's see if we can find some pitches that we like that tell a bit of a story. And it's very hard to do this without having the original so present in your mind, because immediately I want to do this. Anyway. And I'm just using chord tones here and trying to find something that sounds good to my ear. And what I've done so far sounds like mysterious, definitely like detective movie material. I like it. Let me repeat. Oops. like that. And here, let's introduce some movement. Okay, so here, I want to do a different rhythm. Yeah, I think this rhythm will work. Now let's find some notes that we like. The first part of this, first half, is E. E minor. This is F. This is F2. We did some octave jumps. Oh, like this. Hold on. Let me just check the bass. We're doing E, then F. Okay. I kind of like it. Let's listen to the whole thing. It certainly sounds similar, right? Yeah, I like it. For now, it'll do. Let's just give this thing a little bit of reverb. Delay. Nice. I think it's a very nice mini story where we present something, we repeat it, then we introduce a little bit of tension here. And it gets resolved with enough space here towards the end so we can reset the listener's attention for another round of this. And again, I'm not going for redoing the whole thing. I'm just trying to find inspiration in this and make it my own. Cool. And before I forget, if you pay attention to the track, this was a worldwide hit back in 85 or 86? And if you listen to the arrangement, most of the sections have very few elements. Like when the main section hits, it's just the drums, the bass, and this lead, nothing else. 3 elements. Yeah, there's a clap here and there, but I still consider that drums. So that section has only 3 elements. Then when it goes to the major section, still there's only bass, drums, and that synth playing chords, so 3 elements. Then there's a third section where there's like a marimba playing on the Yamaha DX7, and still there's like 2 or 3 elements. So what does this mean, or why is this important, or why did I want to bring this up? Because to make great music, to create a great arrangement, a track or a song that has impact, you don't need to pile up layers and layers of stuff. Piling up layers and layers of stuff is something kind of I would say the modern way of doing things, that isn't necessarily, more is not necessarily always better. Try to get away with using as few elements as you can, make every element count more, and your arrangements can be very simple. When you're turning that 8-bar loop into a full-length track, you don't need 50 tracks to create something that sounds good like this, that's a worldwide hit. Your sections could have 3 or 4 elements tops, but if you give them enough attention, care, and love, right, you can make the arrangement sound really good and create a very satisfying journey for the listener without piling on stuff and layers of samples and layers of synths. That doesn't necessarily makes music always better. Okay, cool. With that aside, let's see where we are. Yeah, the Axel Foley. Foley. Cool. So to me, this is my main section. What I want to do now is... You know what? Let's figure it as we go along the way. The other section I said that I wanted to do something major. So if we were doing A minor, and the E minor, F major, we can then go to A major, like this. That'll be easy. So for now, let's do this. I'm going to call this my initial idea, or my main stack. Done. You know what? Just for fun, let me have a crash in here. Can barely hear that thing. Let's work a little bit on these sounds. So the bass, definitely, I want to add some compression, and this is an LA2A emulation. Basically, any compressor that you have will work. I just like the simplicity of this one, and we'll just turn this knob until I see about 5 to 7 dB of gain reduction, just to give the bass a little bit more density and solidity, and so the notes don't jump out at me so much. And then bring back the gain we lost with this knob. Right there. Okay, and the kick, I'm not going to do anything. The snare just has a little bit of this plugin called Glow by Wave Alchemy, which is an emulation of the AMS RMS 16. It's a great hardware device from the 80s. And I'm just using a plate algorithm. So any reverb that you have that has a plate will work. And I'm just using the gate feature here. That's why I like it very much. It has an inbuilt gate, just to make sure that if you listen closely, that the reverb closes before the next downbeat. And that's pretty much it. Now, I'm not going to add any compression to these drums because they already sound very punchy and a little bit clicky, but that's fine. That's the sound that we're going for. Maybe the hats, we could work them a little. Any EQ you have will work. I'm just high passing a lot of the gunk down here. I don't know if you can hear it, depends on your monitors or headphones, but there's a lot of low mids and lows there that I'm taking away. So all that gone, and I'm just using a high shelf to increase some of the energy so they sound more crispy without it. And that's it. There. Cool. And you can do that with on any EQ that you have. Yeah, that sounds good to me. All right, I like that. Okay, the crash, we're gonna treat similarly to the hats. I'm gonna high pass a lot. Listen to this. A lot of gunk that I'm getting rid of that I don't need. Basically, I'm just looking for a little bit of a splash of high end, not all of that gunk. Okay, so I'm gonna high pass very aggressively. Then the same as with the hats, I'm just gonna use a high shelf. Any EQ you have will work. There. Cool. Next up, let's work on the lead. For the most part, it sounds pretty cool to me. But let's just add some EQ to clean it up. Here's a high-pass filter. And I'm gonna turn it up until I get below the action that you can see here. Like there. And I think I'm gonna filter just a little bit of the highs. That's too much, but... yeah, there. Cool, that's that, and... let's also apply a little bit of compression with the same LA2A style compressor. Same deal. Turn the knob till I see 5 to 7 dB of gain reduction, then bring back the gain. All right. Cool. So far, so good. We're grooving, guys. Yes, that's true, Canard. By switching to major, we'll end up with some sharps. But that's not too bad. We'll still manage to keep it simple. All right, all right, all right, all right. So this time, let me bring my arranger view. Typically, I go for 5 sections of 8 bars each for these short arrangements. Because of the nature of this track, I'm not sure if I'm gonna do it like I always do, but just in case, just so I have something to work towards, let me draw out these boxes here that'll serve as the visual representation of our structure. All right, let's see. Similar to the original, let's start with the lead. Similar to the original, let's follow this with some bass. Okay, let me keep this going. So here, let's bring in the drums, but a modified version of the drums. Let me give this a different color because I don't want the snares. Yeah, that'll work. From here, let's just listen back from the intro. Right. I just needed a little something to grab my attention or reboot my attention before we gave the listener another round of the lead. And just so I don't go crazy, let me call these sections like this because they're not really bridge, chorus, or whatever for now. Okay, here we're getting things started. Same thing here. All right, so here is where we can start with the main groove, or what we could call the chorus maybe, or main section, whatever, doesn't matter. And and let's introduce the shaker here. Crash there and there. Very cool. I don't know about you guys, but I think right up to this point, I've heard enough of the theme. That's where I need something to cleanse my palate, if you will. A different section. Here's where we'll go into the bridge, which I think is similar to the original if you go back and listen to it. It's following a very similar, almost, I don't know if it's just for memory, I'm kind of making the same kind of arrangement, but it sounds very similar. At this point it's like, we need something different. It sounds cool, you've given me the lead, etc. There's been some change as we've gone along, but at this point, it's like, we need something else, man. Give me something different. Cool. Let me just listen to the entire thing from top to bottom. See where we are. Yeah, we're in pretty great shape. Yeah, here I definitely want to go somewhere else, and right up to this point, I think it's pretty rewarding experience. It's very simple, just the same as with the original. Yeah, we could think of creating noise sweeps and reverse crashes here and there, as is normal in these modern times. But again, really trying to capture the feel of the original. It's very simple. It's very sparse. It uses the introduction of these elements to keep us listening, and yeah, let's keep it that way. So here. The drums are going to be the same thing. Maybe a new clap pattern. I'm not sure. Let me just color this differently. Definitely we don't want the lead. And okay, for this, let's create a chords patch. And let's do something very simple. Let's see what comes up. This is just the default patch on the Arturia Jupiter 8. Whoops. You know, I think this sound right out of the gate can work. Let's see. And I'm using my recently acquired controller to do a little bit of synthesis and sound design here. There, it's not too different from what we originally started out with, but there are some differences. Okay, and what about some chorus? Because we can't have any kind of synth playing 80s music without chorus. That's blasphemy. Yeah, sounds great to me. Yeah, I think that'll work. Let's give this thing a little bit of delay as well. Yeah, let's see. Okay, in the key of A major, oh, here's a nifty trick I can pull off in Studio One. Okay, so here's A. The chords are D major, A major, E major, B minor, F sharp minor, and C sharp minor. So I know that I have D and E major to play with. Something like that could work. Let's see. Whoa. You could do... Oh, yeah. Oops. You have like this, B minor, going to this E major. All right, I think that'll work. All right, let's do this, my friends. We're at the top of the hour. Wow, it really went by very quickly. Let's just take a 2-minute break while I get some coffee, and we'll come back in 2 minutes, very shortly. Don't go anywhere, guys. All right. Let's see, welcome back. I should have an assistant to bring me coffee or something, right, guys? Hey, Renee. All right, second half of the show. Here we go. So we were working on the bridge chords. I'm gonna do a very sneaky thing because playing this rhythm can be tricky to get all the notes correctly. I'm just gonna play the rhythm on one chord and then I'll just adjust the notes. Yeah, I'm lazy like that at times. Just like that. Here is where I want to go to a different chord. The E major chord. Same thing here. So I will just duplicate. All right. And here I want to do something different. The B minor chord, maybe. Which is B, D, F sharp. And then E. Here I'm missing one more hit. Yeah. Yeah, that'll work just fine. Now let's work on the bass for this. 4 bars. And the bass line has to change. Obviously. Boom, boom. I'm just following the rhythm of the chords. All right. Okay, so this is A. This is G. E minor, rather. E major. Yeah, that'll work. Now, do I want to have this move a little bit? Certainly. I like that. Sounds very festive. Same thing here. Okay, these are B minor. These are E major. I like it. Nice. Okay, so let's duplicate this. Same as the bass. So this is our complete section. Let's add a crash here. Why not a more active clap pattern here? I'm using one of the pads on my MIDI controller to play that clap. I'm really trying to use this new MIDI controller a lot. There's a lot of stuff that I had never done before just because I was lazy, and I'm finding it very, very simple to do. Like that clap pattern. All right, let's record this thing. All right. I digress. Yeah, I'm liking it. I'm really feeling this, guys. You know what? I'm feeling kind of lucky and kind of in the mood for going on full festive island magic. Why don't we use de-axed and play some marimbas as in the original? For this, I'm gonna use the great and free de-axed plugin. Where was I? Okay, here. The ROMs. Oh, it's sharp. If you're not feeling this, you're dead to me, guys. Come on. If you're not laughing there watching me do that, I don't know what else to do. So, yeah, maybe this Koto sound could work. Maybe that one. Let me just browse the cartridges a few minutes more. See if I can find something else that I like. All right. Yeah, let's go with that one just for fun. Oh man, I love this stuff, really. And we're definitely gonna need a little bit of delay to make that sound fit better. keep forgetting about the sharps. Something exactly like that will do the trick. Marimba. All right, all right, all right. All right. Okay, let me see. Where is my pentatonic scale for A minor? And 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. All right. Kind of like a what was I going to call that? Like a super trick or superhero move is using the pentatonic scale, either the major or the minor, depending on the key of your track. But it's like every note of the pentatonic scale that you play will sound good. I'm just playing randomly. And it will sound good. Conversely, you got to be careful with the 4 and the 7 degrees of the major scale, because if you're not careful, they will sound very dissonant and horrible. In this case, the D and the G sharp, for example. And the 7th, this one. It's like you really have to think where to put it, and whether you're using it on the downbeat or on the upbeat. You need to give the 4 and the 7 degrees special treatment. So kind of getting rid of them and only playing pentatonic notes is like a very easy thing to do to come up with a melody that works in this context. All right. Okay, I want to do that exactly like that. The ending I don't like. These notes sound terrible. Because we're doing E major, and yeah. better. Oops, daisy, there we go. All right. Cool. I'm really digging this, and I think it's a double whammy because we've combined the bridge and the third section from the Axel Foley track, the one that has the marimbas, into one. I didn't think I would do the marimba section, but again, you grab these opportunities, you take advantage of them when they present themselves. Cool. All right, let's see. Where were we? Now, certainly, I don't want to start out with the marimba playing the whole thing. So maybe here. Now, here's the thing. I want to listen to this twice. And these are the kind of adjustments that you make along the way. Cool. All right. After this, let's go back. This is the question. What do we do after this? If this were a full-length track, of course, we could go back to almost playing a re-intro, or practically the same thing that we did with the intro, and getting most likely all the way up to this B section. However, just for the purpose of this exercise, let's see, maybe a short version of the intro. For example, this. Then like so. Also the drums. Okay. I know this may feel a little rushed, but I was thinking about going back to the B section, but or the C? No, that's a little too much. I think from here, just for the purpose of this exercise, what I will do is just fade out starting bar 57. Yeah. You know what? Because these chords we haven't used at all, only during the C section, what I could do is maybe play a few notes here and there just to spice things up during this outro. I think that'll work. Yeah, let me do something like that. There was a mistake there, but kind of like it. Here. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. Bum, 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 bum. I like it. All right, all right, all right. Okay, hold on. I'll do is just duplicate this. I'm seeing some of the comments there. Yeah, I agree. Definitely, when it comes to creating just a short experience like this, there's really no way to satisfy everyone's preference. I do feel that it's a little rushed to come out of this section, then onto the next one, and very shortly and abruptly kind of fade it out. Yeah, but just remember, this is an exercise, and if I were to turn this into a full-length track, we would be here in 4 more hours, or 5 probably, right? So I do need to wrap this up. So it's always going to be feel rushing here or there, but that's fine. If you can follow the same exercise but create a full-length experience, then go ahead and make it in a way that that you feel solves properly. I'm feeling like these notes are clashing a little bit with the lead. Yeah, there's a couple of notes here clashing. I don't know if it's the octave range or what. I think that fits better. I'm on the fence about this part. What I could do maybe is get rid of the lead here. Now let me go back to how it was. Without the lead, I do feel that it sounds good. Oop. Yeah. And like I said, it's also about things you take away and not just about how much you add. because here we're ready to fade this thing out, so the lead was kind of getting in the way. All right, so let's do this. In terms of mixing, I think we pretty much worked on most of the sounds. So to me, they sound good. There's nothing else that I'd like to do. And there's nothing much in terms of automation. I'll just review that in a second. And nothing else in terms of effects. Remember that we were going for a very simple sound. If you listen to the Axel Foley track, again, it's very simple, very direct in your face. Like, there aren't many things going on at the same time, mostly 3 elements at the most. So I certainly want to create that fade out in the end. And let me see what else I wanted to do here. Just for the sake of it, let me just listen to this section a bit. See if I like the levels. Yeah, I like where the lead is. All right. Let me now apply a little bit of processing to my drums bus. And apply a little bit of tape. A little bit of drive. A little bit of bus compression. Right. Let's do the same thing on the synth bus. Right, and a little bit of bus compression. Just a little bit, nothing too much, like a dB and a half. All right. And finally, I already had a little bit of tape going on here on my master bus. So let's compress this thing just a little bit. Again, I'm going for 2 dB of gain reduction, nothing too crazy. Just to glue the whole thing together. Sounds good to me. All right, besides the fade out, let me just review the sections quickly. Now the change. Okay, let me work on this section just a little bit. The marimba's a little quiet. And check this out. The claps up to this point, to me, they sounded good. They weren't bothering me. But now, during this very active pattern, their level is bothering me a lot. So I will automate the claps here in this section. I think I'll bring them down a good 3 dB, not more. Yeah, and that's something that maybe you wouldn't have noticed if you were listening to the track, that during this section I brought the claps down like 4 dB. That's transparent or invisible to you. Conversely, if I had left them like this, maybe you would have been annoyed by the claps. So this is the thing about automation, that once you feel like you have all the elements and the mix or the arrangement is where you want it to be, and you have your levels for the most part, then it's time to listen with more intent and see if there's anything else that you can tuck here and there to make the experience more satisfying for the listener. I want to apply a little bit of EQ to the marimba. Better. All right, and let's not forget about the outro, the fade out, since we're about to call this a day, night, or afternoon, depending on where you are. Let's check it out. Nice. It sounds like a soundtrack now. Yeah, the original has a couple of white noise sweeps, I think, during the intro, some other place. But it's not like you hear them like every bars or so. They were used sparingly there. I think for now, I think we're in great shape, my muchachos. Let's see. All right, so let's do the final playthrough, and we'll come back and call this a day. Here we go. All right, my friends. Great. So this was a very cool exercise. We went through first analyzing a piece of music that we wanted to get inspiration from, get some influence and steal a couple of things. We went online, found what made it work, analyzed a bit of the scales, the chords, some of the parts that made it good. And then we picked and we chose some of the things that we wanted to incorporate into our piece. Now, of course, because I played the original and then this one, immediately you know that it's the Axel Foley theme or like a variation, or I was trying to go for that sound. If you weren't in this space right now, if you were just out there listening to this track, maybe you would remember it, or it would take you back. But it's not exactly a recreation blow by blow, but certainly we took some of those elements and made them our own. And this is the thing that I really like doing. For example, if you like Time Cop or Perturbator or The Midnight, don't copy exactly what they're doing, because you can't be better than those guys at being those guys. Like we did here, analyze their tracks, their songs, their productions, pick and choose a few things, and use in your productions and make them your own. Always try to impart your own flavor, impart your own style into whatever you do. And listening to this, I'm really happy with the experience. Of course, it's a really short experience, feels a little rushed here or there. But all in all, making this within 2 hours, it has a very nice sound to it. I really like the marimba part, even though some people said there in the chat they didn't. The original has it, so go and listen to it and complain to Harold Faltermeyer. In any case, I like how this came out. And this is the magic of making music, my friends. We applied MacGyver's rule everywhere, use what we have, and make decisions quickly. And, well, that's it. Practice like this as much as you can. Build your body of work. Make as much music as you can. and always have fun. If you have any questions or comments, let me know in the comments. This has been a great experience. See you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for being here. Ciao.